1979, SLV-3 satellite launch vehicle. I was the project director, mission director. My mission is to put the satellite in the orbit. Thousands of people worked nearly 10 years. I reached the Srihari quota and it's in the launch pad. Countdown was going on. T-minus 4 minutes, T-minus 5 minutes, T-minus 1 minute, T-minus 40 seconds. Computer put a hold. Don't launch it. I am the mission director. I have to take decision. Everything is on. Behind me there are 6 experts. They saw computer database coming in and screen, and they see the pictures in the screen. They said there's a problem. The problem is there's a leakage in a system, in the control system. But immediately they calculate no problem. We have got sufficient fuel and oxidized for control system is control the rocket to the required altitude, and we can go ahead. Now, of course, my expert's view, but I took the decision. Problem is mine. Finally, I took a decision. I bypassed the computer. I launched the system. Okay, I launched. This fellow went. First stage worked in a 4-stage rocket, and second stage got land. It went to spin. Instead of putting the satellite in the orbit, it put in the Bay of Bengal. 1979, it was a failure. It was a failure. First time I experienced my failure.
Hello viewers, we ended the part 2 while Dr. Kalam was going for his interviews with DDT&P, Air and Air Force Selection Board. Let's go further. Dr. Kalam said that he halted for a week in Delhi, the city of great Sufi saint Hazrat Nizamuddin, and appeared for interview at DDT&P Air. I did well at the interview. Then I proceeded to Dehradun for my interview at Air Force Selection Board. At the Air Force Selection Board, the emphasis was more on personality than on intelligence. Perhaps they were looking for physical fitness and an articulate manner. I could only finish 9th in the batch of 25. I was deeply disappointed. It took me some time to comprehend that the opportunity to join the Air Force had just slipped through my fingers. I dragged myself out of the selection board and stood at the edge of a cliff. I trekked down to Rishikesh. I bathed in Ganga. Then I walked to Shivnanda ashram situated up the hill. I met Swami Shivnanda, a man who looked like a Buddha wearing a snow-white dhoti and wooden slippers. I introduced myself to Swami. My Muslim name aroused no reaction in him. Before I could speak any further, he inquired about the source of my sorrow. I told him about my unsuccessful attempt to join Indian Air Force and my long cherished dream to fly. He smiled, washing away all my anxiety almost instantly. Then he said in a feeble but a very deep voice, "That which has been imaged will surely and certainly be manifested. Young man, you can rely on this ageless promise as surely as you can rely upon the eternally unbroken promise of the sunrise. When the student is ready, the teachers will appear." How true. Here was a teacher to show the way to a student who had nearly gone astray. Swamiji said Accept your destiny and go ahead with your life. You're not destined to become an Air Force pilot. What you are destined to become is not revealed now, but it is predetermined. Forget this failure, as it was essential to lead you to your destined path. Search instead for the true purpose of your existence. Become one with yourself, my son. Surrender yourself to the wish of the God. I returned to Delhi and inquired at DDT&P Air about the outcome of my interview. In response, I was handed my appointment letter. I joined the next day as senior scientific assistant on the basic salary of Rs 200 per month. If this was to be my destiny, I thought, let it be so. Finally, I was filled with a mental peace. No more did I feel any bitterness or the resentment at my failure to enter Air Force. All this was in 1958. Job-wise, I undertook the preliminary design study of human centrifuge. I later carried out the design and development of vertical takeoff and landing platform. I was also associated with the development and construction of hot cockpit. Then the Aeronautical Development Establishment, ADE, was born in Bangalore, and I was posted to new establishment. Based on my preliminary studies on ground handling equipment, a project team was formed to design and develop an indigenous hovercraft prototype as ground equipment machine. We were given 3 years to launch the engineering model. The project was, by any standards, bigger than our collective capabilities. None of us had any experience in building a machine, let alone the flying machine. There were no designs or standard components available to begin with. All we knew was that we had to make a successful heavier-than-air flying machine. We tried to read as much literature as we can to find on hovercrafts, but there was not much available. We tried to consult people knowledgeable in this area, but could find none. One day, I simply took a decision to proceed with the limited information and resources available. There's always a danger that a person with my kind of a background, rural or small town, middle class, whose parents had limited education, will retreat into a corner and remain there struggling for bare existence, unless some great turn of circumstance propels him into more favorable environment. I knew I had to create my own opportunities. Part by part, subsystem by subsystem, stage by stage, things started moving. Working on this project, I learned once your mind stretches to a new level, it never goes back to its original dimension. At that time, V.K. Krishnaman was the defense minister. He was keenly interested in the progress of her small project, which he envisioned as the beginning of the indigenous development of India's defense equipment. Whenever he was in Bangalore, he always found some time to review the progress of our project. His confidence in our ability ignited our enthusiasm. I would enter the assembly shop, leaving my other problems outside, just as my father used to enter the mosque for prayer, leaving his shoes outside. But not everyone accepted Krishnaman's opinion about GEM. Our experiments with available parts and components did not exactly delight my senior colleagues. Many even called us a group of eccentric inventors in pursuit of an impossible dream. I, being the leader of the navies, was a particularly inviting target. I was regarded as yet another country bumpkin who believed that riding the air was his domain. The Hovercraft was christened Nandi after the bull ridden by Lord Shiva. Defense Minister Krishna Menon flew. He was very happy and told me, "You have demonstrated the basic problems of hovercraft development are solved. Go for a more powerful prime mover and call me for the second ride." We completed the project ahead of the schedule, but by this time Krishna Menon was out of his office and could not take his promised second ride. In the new order, not many people shared his dream with regard to military applications of an indigenous aircraft. In fact, even today, we import hovercrafts. The project was mired in controversies and was finally shelved. It was a new experience for me. So far, I had believed the sky was a limit, but now it appeared that limits were much closer. They were boundaries that dictate life. You can only lift so much weight. You can only learn so fast. You can only work so hard. You can only go so far. I was unwilling to face this reality. I had put my heart and soul into Nandi. That it would not be used was something beyond my comprehension. I was disappointed and disillusioned. Then comes a day I received a call from Indian Committee for Space Research in Kuspa to attend an interview for the post of rocket engineer. All I knew about Kuspa at the time was that it was formed out of the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research TFIR talent pool at Bombay, now Mumbai, to organize space research in India. I went to Bombay to attend the interview. I was interviewed by Dr. Vikram Sarabhai along with Professor M.G.K. Menon, Director of Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, and Mr. Saraf, then Deputy Secretary of Atomic Energy Commission. However, the next evening I was told about my selection. I was to be absorbed as a rocket engineer at Kuspa. This was a breakthrough a young man like myself dreamed of. Sometime in the later half of 1962, Kuspa took the decision to set up an equatorial rocket launching station at Tomba, a sleeping fishing village near Trivandrum, now Thiruvananthapuram in Kerala. Dr. Chetnas of Physical Research Laboratory, Ahmedabad, has spotted it as a suitable location as it was very close to the Earth's magnetic equator. This was the quiet beginning of modern rocket-based research in India. Very soon after this, I was asked to proceed to America for 6 months training program on sounding rocket launching techniques at National Aeronautics and Space Administration NASA work centers. Regarding my impression of the American people, I realized that people in this part of the world meet their problems head on. They attempt to get out of them. As soon as I returned from NASA, India's first rocket launch took place on 21st November 1963. It was a sounding rocket called Nike Apache, made at NASA. After the successful launch of Nike Apache, Professor Sarabhai chose to share with us his dream of an Indian satellite launch vehicle. When Professor Sarabhai was talking to us about Satellite Launch Vehicle (SLV), he asked me almost in the same breath to take up the studies on Rocket Assisted Takeoff System (RATO) for military aircraft. The real journey of Indian space program, however, had begun with the Rohini sounding rocket RSR program. The development of Indian rocket in 20th century can be seen as a revival of the 18th century dream of Tipu Sultan. When Tipu Sultan was killed, the British captured more than 700 rockets and subsystems of 900 rockets in the Battle of Dukhanhalli in 1799. His army had 27 brigades called Kushuns, and each brigade had a company of rocketmen called Jogs. Rocketry was reborn in India thanks to technological vision of Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. Professor Sarabhai took the challenge of giving physical dimension to his dream. Very many individuals with myopic vision questioned the relevance of the space activities in the newly independent nation, which was finding it difficult to feed its population. But neither Prime Minister nor Professor Sarabhai had any ambiguity of the purpose. The vision was very clear. If India were to play a meaningful role in the community of the nations, they must be second to none in the application of advanced technologies to their real-life problems. They had no intention of using it merely as a means to display our might. This brings us to the end. Please subscribe the channel and write comments. Thanks for watching.